Good evening, councillors, staff, ladies and gentlemen in the gallery and those listening at home. Please be seated while Councillor MacDonald reads the blessing.
Our thoughts and prayers turn to those in our community struggling to cope this winter with cost of living pressures, access to healthcare and being able to afford those things many of us take for granted, such as the cost of heating the family home, and sadly for some, homelessness. I offer a prayer of hope and comfort for these families, not only those living in the city of Gosnells, but across Western Australia, who face tough situations every day, and ask the Lord to watch over them and keep them safe. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Before we begin the meeting tonight, I would like to acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional lands of the Whadjuk Noongar people and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. It is now 6:59 and I declare the meeting open. There are no announcements of visitors tonight. Please note we are live streaming and I'll now read the disclaimer. Members of the public are cautioned against taking any action on council decisions on items in which they may have an interest until such time as they have seen a copy of the minutes of the meeting or have been advised in writing by city staff. With regards to live streaming, please note that all council meetings are digitally recorded and live streamed on the city's YouTube channels, except for confidential agenda items, during which time the live streaming will be temporarily suspended. Thank you. So item 2 on the agenda tonight is the record of attendance. So tonight, Mayor Teresa Lyons is an apology as she is attending the Australian Performing Arts Exchange Conference. Councillor Singh has an approved leave of absence and Councillor Baines is also an apology tonight. Councillor Adams is joining us online and so all of our votes will be by hand. We now move to disclosures of interest. Councillors, are there any disclosures of interest on the items on the agenda? No disclosures of interest, thank you. Announcements of presiding members. So I have a few announcements tonight. We've got some good news to share. It's been a busy month. So in the last week of July, the City of Gosnells and the City of Cockburn co-hosted the 2025 NGAA Congress, welcoming representatives from 20 councils across Australia. It was a great opportunity to collaborate, share ideas and strengthen our advocacy for the 5 million Australians living in fast-growing outer metro areas like ours. A big thank you to the City of Cockburn for partnering with us to host this successful event, and thank you to those that were able to attend. I'm also pleased to share that Mayor Teresa Lyons has been re-elected to the National Growth Areas Alliance Strategic Advisory Committee, bit of a mouthful, representing WA alongside Councillor Deputy Mayor James Rowe of the City of Wanneroo. To continue the good news, I have a couple of awards here. So the City has taken home 2 awards this month, with the first award being this one. It's a highly commended award, which was presented at the Leisure Institute of WA Awards Night earlier this month. The High Commendation Award for the Watch Around Water Facilities of the Year Metropolitan was awarded to recognise excellence and initiative in the promotion of the Watch Around Water program at Leisure World. We also took home a win, so this one's quite impressive. It's quite heavy as well. So this is the winning award. So this one here is Winner of Community Impact Award. This award recognises facility-based aquatic programs that use access and inclusion to enhance community well-being, create positive impact and promote healthier lifestyles. The city successfully applied for a grant to deliver a vital water safety program for families at the most risk of drowning. So this was a great achievement for all those involved and a great achievement for our city. The Mayor was present on the night of the awards night, and she also snuck in a little cheeky remark about imagine what we could do if we had Splash for our community. So hopefully we do get that funding and we can move on with another leisure facility. So that brings me to the end of the mayoral announcements. And so now we'll move back onto the agenda. We'll move to item 5, reports of delegates. Councillors, do we have any reports? Councillor Good?
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Williamson. Councillors, the Deputy Mayor and myself did a Metropolitan Outer Development Assessment panel on the 23rd of July, and it was for a property literally about 300 metres that way on Mills Road West, place of worship and community purpose, private recreation, $2 million plus facility. You may recall it came to the MODAP previously, but we had to reject it. Parking was the significant issue, but it's been improved. It was parking for 63 cars, it's now for 250 bays. And this place of worship, community purpose, it's for the Hazani Centre for the Hazara community, but other groups can use the facility, so that was approved on the 23rd of July. In addition, I'm just sort of flagged something for the future, which was actually in today's West Australian newspaper on page 32. I could technically just look at it and show it, but no camera's going to pick that up from this far away. But just for my fellow councillors to see, there's a building here, Maddington's AI on the prize. And for the purpose of this council meeting, it's just important to read this out. As I said, it's public knowledge, it's in today's West Australian. A huge tech company backed by Australia's sovereign wealth fund is planning a $415 million data centre in Maddington to chase the artificial intelligence boom. CDC Data Centres lodged a development proposal for the 200 megawatt facility in June. The private company, previously Canberra Data Centres, was reportedly valued at $17 billion earlier this year, roughly the size of Qantas. It boasts the Commonwealth Government's future fund with a 34.6% ownership and ASX listed Infratil at 49.8% as key investors. Their quote, CDC is proud to be expanding in Western Australia and bringing our sovereign, secure and sustainable infrastructure to the West. CDC founder and chief executive Greg Borer said, our goal is to provide the digital backbone for WA's AI and advanced technology future, supporting everything from AI, quantum and supercomputing to defence and critical infrastructure customers. There is demand to have highly resilient, secure and backup AI infrastructure in the West. Among the well-known Australian names that have signed deals with CDC, so again that's Canberra Data Centres, previously known as, so the CDC Data Centres, have been the Reserve Bank of Australia, CSIRO and Western Sydney Airport. Maddington will be the company's 12th data centre and a further 2.6 gigawatts of expansion projects are in CDC's pipeline nationally. The project will offer high-density compute, office space and will consume zero water for primary cooling. Property records show that the company also holds land in industrial precincts at Wangara and Hazelmere, which were acquired in 2022. The point of reading this out was, whilst one can never assume any approvals from a JDAP/MODAP perspective, the fact that it's in today's paper, and that's a very significant investment of $415 million, that's a very big coup if it happens to come to fruition. So I thought I'd highlight it as part of the MODAP type report. In addition, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Williamson, for talking about the NGAA from just less than 2 weeks ago. First of all, I just want to thank councillors for allowing me to attend the NGAA Congress. hosted jointly, as you've said, by the cities of Gosnells and Cockburn, and it was good to be able to be there to provide support on behalf of the city as well with Mayor Lyons. Highlights for me was the waste to energy, or now known as the Kwinana Energy Recovery Centre. I did do a social media post on that. It just explains really clearly how this waste is dealt with when you see trucks actually turn up, drop the waste off, and how it's managed and then burnt, and to physically see it burn to turn to energy. Well, it's just a great culmination of a facility after, I think, roughly 16 years of being in the development phase and being built, so that was fantastic. We also went to the Australian Marine Complex down in Henderson, and for a bit of a funny quirk, and even the CEO don't think knows this one, Austell Shipyards. We went to the Austell Shipyards. I'm sure you were there. No, you didn't go to Austell? In that case, well, I did. Went to the Austell Shipyards. Now, to see all these ships being built, what was interesting, though, I was a fraction late getting into the main room because you had to duck off to the gents. And as I'm ducking off the gents, I see my son-in-law working. Now, I can't stop a chat because we're in the middle of things, but he works at Austell. So it was actually great to see these ships being built and how they're being built. We've got a great tour. So the Marine Complex, Austell Shipyards, but I particularly want to highlight July the 31st, being the Thursday, when we had Councillor Zhang and Councillor Islam join us at Mills Park. Guest speakers, panel, policy discussions, and this is what highlights to me the NGAA, what it's all about. So I was glad to be able to go there and have my other fellow councillors join us on the day. But to think about it, 5.8 million people, a median age of 34, 21.5% of the national population is represented by the NGAA. 34% of Australia's population growth since 2021 and 12.4% of the gross national product. To think that the NGAA councils, as the Deputy Mayor has highlighted, of what I think you said 21, was it? Well, it covers 43% of Australia. It's significant data space. The key takeaways for me and on behalf of my fellow councillors to try and bring you back some information was that Bronwyn Clark, the Chief Executive Officer, mayors and councillors are trying very hard to get attention for their areas. And I note that the Deputy Mayor was talking about the Mayor making a comment about some funding for Splash. Well, I've just written this little comment here, my own self, saying we must try harder to get results, otherwise it will be a failure to communicate. How do we do that? I guess the NGAA, and we just must advocate better. So part of going there was to do that, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity of doing so. And finally, that is the actual booklet brochure that we had as a guide. Several days of very good meetings in collaboration with other people, listening and learning to all their ideas. And again, I'm very, very grateful. If anyone wants to look at this, feel free to do so. But it was a good conference, good to hear, and hopefully some other people will be listening to what all these councils say, because we need help to progress those. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Good, for that in-depth explanation and report back to Council, and thank you for all your representation of our Council. Are there any other Council members who would like to make a report? No? Okay, thank you very much. We'll now move on to the next item. So the next item on the agenda is question time. Now I have received a few questions in from residents, so I'll call forward residents one at a time. So we'll begin with Tracy O'Neill. Can you please come forward? Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Can we just get an update on the Mooksy Precinct 1 structure plan and Clifford Road extension? Thank you.
Yes, our new Director of Planning and Development, Andrew Lafort, will be happy to provide an update.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Williamson. With Mooksy Precinct 1, we're finalising some technical studies on that, which are due very soon. So within the next couple of months, we're hoping that that's going to be finalised and sent to the state government for final approval. So it's very close. And with regards to the Clifford Street extension, that's likely to commence within the next couple of months as well, so also imminent.
Thank you, Mr O'Neill. Could Daniel Stevens please come forward with your question? You have 2 questions, so if you start with one and we'll get an answer and then move to the next one.
Yeah, okay, no. I'd like to find out, these are about Homes West properties in Gosnells. So I'd like to find out how many Homes West properties are in the city of Gosnells, and are these properties rateable, and does the city of Gosnells get any income from this?
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. The CEO will be happy to answer that question.
Thank you. We wouldn't know offhand how many housing authority houses there are in the city, but if historically the way it's worked is that if the house is owned by the housing authority, then they're not rateable because state government properties aren't rateable, but they will pay ex gratia rates. However, if they transfer the property to a housing service provider, then they generally claim rate exemption.
Okay, thanks. I've got a second question. This has to do with libraries. So, why hasn't the city increased the number of libraries in the city, even when the population of the city has grown, especially in the 2000s and the 2010s?
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. The CEO will be happy to answer your question.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens, the city's tried to make sure that its libraries remain current and are offering services that people need, and that's one of the reasons why the library at Kenwick was moved to Mills Park. So I think we are looking at making sure our libraries service need. I don't know that we need to have more libraries. I think we just need to make sure that our libraries continue to evolve with the times.
Thank you. The next question is from Leon Walker. Could you please come forward, Mr. Walker? And you can ask your 3 questions. Thank you.
Given the Mayor's not here, I'll withdraw question 1.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Is it accurate that the Local Government Act now mandates that the Audit Committee is required to have an independent chairperson and an independent vice chairperson?
I'll now hand that question over to Director Bradbrook, who can answer that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Changes to the Act will require independent chairs of audit and risk committees, but that has not come into effect at this point. Okay, thank you. If mandated by the Local Government Act, by when will an independent chairperson and an independent vice chairperson be appointed to the Audit Committee?
Thank you. Director Bradbrook will answer that question again.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. As I said, the Act will be amended to require that, but those changes haven't come into effect yet, and I don't know when they are proposed to come into effect. But as soon as they do, we will need to comply with the requirement, and we'll be given a time frame to comply.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. So we'll now move on to public statements, and I would like to call forward Ms Dashwood, who has a statement on item 14.1. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. My name is Maxine Dashwood and I live in the Brooklyn Greens estate. I conducted a recent survey on our properties, and this is with the issue of a tree that is inhibiting our access. When the developers built the estate, they allocated at least one jacaranda tree per property. Now, if I look at the Burford Place and Arley Turn, which is an adjoining street, there are 33 properties in that area, and there would have been 45 trees allocated if we work on the basis that we have 2, our neighbour has 3, and several other people have 2 trees. Now, of those 45 trees that were originally allocated, planted and cared for, only 20 now exist. Now, where the other 25 trees went, we don't know, whether the council approved the removal of them or not. However, the tree that is on the southern side of our driveway is restricting our access to get our caravan in and out. I have canvassed our neighbours. There are no objections at all to people for having the tree removed, and they have witnessed on several occasions the difficulty that we have not only getting the caravan out, but even worse, getting it back in. You may say it's only a caravan, but the caravan is how we escape. We escape the normal things that we need to do on a daily basis. We escape to reconnect with family in the northwest and the southwest, which is a total joy. And we also escape because we have responsibilities to older friends and family members who we offer care to. So we sincerely hope that we can continue to do this without so much stress in getting the caravan in and out. With the removal of the jacaranda at no cost to council, we will plant a 2-metre callistemon tree, which, unlike the jacaranda, is native to Western Australia, not South America. The removed tree will be stored, dried and used for heating in the year 2026. The callistemon will in time provide shade to our west-facing bedroom and in addition provide a natural flight path from the large jacaranda, large bottle brush that we have in our backyard through the native garden along the northern boundary of our property for the birds who frequent our property. The most common of these are the New Holland honeyeaters, the doves, wrens, silver eyes, willy wagtails, mudlarks, magpies, and occasionally, if we're really lucky, we get the red-tailed black cockatoos. So I ask that the council take this information into consideration and provide and permit the removal and replacement of the tree. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to the next item. Could someone please turn off the microphone? Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is item 7, confirmation of minutes. May I seek a mover, councillors? Councillor Dewhurst and a seconder, Councillor MacDonald. Councillors, if you support the minutes as they are, please raise your hand. That's been carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll now move to item 8 on the agenda, receiving of petitions and presentations. Councillors, please raise your hand if you have any to present. No, thank you. We'll now move to item 9, applications for leave of absence. I haven't received any. Okay, we have no applications for leave of absence. Item 10, questions of which due notice has been given. I have received none. So we'll move forward to item 11, items brought forward for the convenience of those in the public gallery. So I'll move forward item 14.1, the request for removal of street tree, 3 Burford Place, Canning Vale. May I seek a mover? Councillor Dewhurst. And a seconder, Councillor Abetz. Councillor Dewhurst, would you like to speak on this?
Thanks very much, Mayor, for that. So I was contacted by the Dashwoods in regards to the tree there, and there's been a lot of trimming on that tree over the years, so they get the van in, van out. They've said as they've got a bit older, it's getting a bit harder, and it's causing a bit of grief. A lot of grief in my family when my wife reverses me into a car park. So and they're having to, and the tree's not allowing them to open up the gates all the way as well. So they've been residents of the city of Gosnells for over 40 years in Thornley and now over in Canning Vale there. I've known of them for a few years. They are certainly green thumbs. They do a lot within their community and over near that lake area there. They're passionate about their community. That original tree that they wanted to remove to replace with actually a native tree was actually rescued from one of their neighbours who was going to cut it down when they were developing. And so they said, well, don't cut it down, let's replant it back into onto our land, so which I think is quite commendable. I did bring up during the workshop saying, well, if that's what they've done, it's their tree, and the answer was, well, actually no, it belongs to the city because it's 9/10 of the law. You know, I'd actually disagree with that, or either that, or it's be very good for a lot of people out there, because there's a lot of people that have put sprinklers on council land, and if the city's going to say they're going to take ownership of them and fix them, that'll be wonderful as well. So I very much doubt we want to go that way. So look, councillors, I'm just asking you if you could support this. It's going to be the tree, the actual tree is not an Australian species. I could talk on black cockatoos and a little bit about on the other birds as well. It is a fatty food for them, and it's not that conducive to actually their diet. So if we can remove that, put the callistemon in there, it'll be certainly a lot better avenue side. Councillors, I ask you to support us, support the Dashwoods in their endeavour to go camping and put up a nice native tree. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dewhurst. Councillor Betts, would you like to speak on the item?
Just briefly, Deputy Mayor, I went out today just to have a look, and the tree itself is actually not a particularly pretty specimen, if I can put it that way, and it really does create a bit of a problem for the people moving the caravan in and out, and given that they're willing to replace it with a 2-metre callistemon, I think that's a very satisfactory arrangement, and given the quality of the garden that they have, they have a very nice garden, they've got green thumbs. I'm sure they'll look after that tree that they're going to plant and make sure that it thrives, so I would encourage people to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Betts. Councillor Good, would you like to speak to the item?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Williamson. I too will be supportive of the motion, and I too went and saw the property and had a look at the tree myself, and I'm probably assuming many others may have had a good look. This is actually a very important point, because the policy is not to remove the trees. We all can read the policy, it's in there in black and white, but I always make the argument that when there's a very, very good reason, policy is not law, it's merely a guideline, and sometimes you've got to go beyond it. So I would encourage my fellow councillors to vote in favour of the motion. Clearly, Mr and Mrs Dashwood are clearly got green thumbs, and whilst Councillor Dewhurst may not be in the finest voice, he's not exactly in the best condition, I just want to make sure the clear point, yes, the green thumbs are pretty obvious when you look at the property. It's a beautiful garden, and they just simply want to have access to that caravan, and will simply replace the tree. I also do applaud them for the fact that, as they made the point, I think they said 40-odd trees, it's down to 20. Imagine how many people just would have ripped it out, told nobody, and you wouldn't even know. An hour and a half of the chainsaw, you wouldn't even know it's done. So I just applaud them for their honesty to be able to come before it, and I hope we could go, yes, we'll support that, because it's fair and it's reasonable, and they clearly love trees and they love gardens. All the stuff they can talk about is pretty impressive. So I support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Good. Would any other councillor like to speak on the motion? No, Councillor. Okay, so we will now go to the vote. Please raise your hand if you support the proposed motion. So that's unanimously carried. Thank you. So in the gallery, that's been carried, which means the tree can be removed. So the city staff, if you contact the city, they'll get in touch and work out the process from there. Thank you. If you would like to leave, you may leave, or you're welcome to stay for the rest of the evening. Thank you. And we'll now move back onto the agenda. So we have item 13.1.1, and that item is the Memorandum of Understanding with the South East Corridor Councils Alliance, known as SECCA. May I seek a mover? Councillor Good, and a seconder, Councillor Dalton. Councillor Good, would you like to speak on this item?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Williamson. Yes, I'm very much in support of the SECCA continuing and the agreement, but I would like it to be noted, and I'm hoping the CEO can make sure of this, the fact of I'd love to see a little bit more feedback coming through to Council about the activities of SECCA. I know it's not easy, but SECCA itself must be supported strongly, because I've always thought it's not just the city of Gosnells that we fight for. So many things are on our boundaries. I've harped on for a long time about educational facilities and health. I mean, I'd dearly love an upgrade, a massive upgrade actually of the Armidale Kelmscott Hospital, because it's got the space, etc. And I'm not privy to what's going on, and potentially the CEO may be, and the Mayor may be as well, and perhaps even yourself, Deputy Mayor Williamson. But between health facilities and education, the ability to have a university campus, I'd love to see SECCA doing some more advocacy in that range to try and keep our high school students from dropping out of university when they go, because there's nothing in the southeast corridor. And I'm not talking about new buildings, I'm just talking about a hub and spoke type facility, but particularly the health could be upgraded. So I endorse the SECCA, and hopefully you can get some more good work, and I'd love to see some more feedback coming back from it, even asking fellow councillors what would you like to see, because it's just the whole region, not just our own city. Things overlap. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Good. Councillor Dalton, would you like to speak to the item? No. Would any other councillors like to speak on this item? No? Okay. Councillor Good, would you like to close? No? Okay. If we could vote, please raise your hand if you support the staff recommendation. Thank you, councillors. That's been carried unanimously to support the signing of the MOU for the SECCA Alliance. We'll now move to the next item on the agenda. So the next item is item 13.1.2, proposed amendment to Council Policy 4.1.8, purchasing. May I seek a mover? Councillor Abetz and Councillor Lloyd as the seconder. Councillor Abetz, would you like to speak on this motion?
I'd encourage councillors to support this recommendation. Basically, as the report makes it clear, it's not that we don't want to continue to support Aboriginal enterprises, but in order for the existing policy, the way it's written, is that we have to be sure that it represents value for money. How do you know something's value for money? It's by calling for tenders. So this adjustment to the policy, I think, is very appropriate, and just encourage you to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Abetz. Councillor Lloyd, would you like to speak to this? No. Would any other councillors like to speak to it? No. Councillor Abetz, would you like to close? No. Okay, councillors, if you support the staff recommendation, can you please show your hands? Thank you, councillors. That's been unanimously carried. This now brings us to item 13.1.3, the position statement Black Cockatoos. May I seek a mover? Councillor Adams is the mover. May I seek a seconder? Councillor Abetz. Councillor Adams, would you like to speak to the motion? No. Councillor Abetz, would you like to speak to the motion?
I think it's a pretty straightforward statement about black cockatoos. They're an important part of the fauna of our city, and having a position statement, I think, is just a helpful thing, that it's an indication of where we're at as a council and what we want to see done in terms of trying to ensure their survival as a species, or as a number of species. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Abetz. Would anybody else? Councillor Dewhurst.
Thanks very much, Mayor. You have to apologise to me. I am battling tonight. So, I want to talk in support of the position statement. It's good. It gives us direction. We can always refer to that when we're talking to people out in the community. But I've got an amendment to the motion, if you'd like.
Councillor Dewhurst, would you like me to read that out
If you don't
since
mind,
your
I'm finding it
voice?
hard to read it, so if you could, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
So Councillor Dewhurst has an amendment which reads, I, Councillor Dewhurst, propose the following, that the staff recommendation be amended by inserting a new part 2 as follows. 2, that the CEO be requested to prepare a position statement opposing Alcoa's proposal to expand its bauxite mining in the Darling Range that would involve clearing over 6,000 hectares of native vegetation for consideration by Council. Councillor Dewhurst has provided a reason which reads, the position statement on black cockatoos acknowledges that these birds are endangered and require protection. That protection includes preserving and expanding foraging, roosting and nesting habitats within the city. Councillor Dewhurst supports the position statement, but also notes that black cockatoos don't live just within the city's boundaries, and as such, habitat protection beyond the city's borders is also critical. Whilst Ocoa's expansions plans don't currently cover any of the City of Gosnells, the plans propose the clearing of over 6,000 hectares of native vegetation that provides habitat for a variety of native fauna, including black cockatoos. There is little value in the city working to preserve and expand black cockatoo habitat when that habitat in other areas would be decimated by expansion plans such as those completed by Alcoa. Councillor Dewhurst would like the city to establish a formal position opposing Alcoa's plans to clear vast areas of native vegetation in the Darling Scarp. So Councillor Dewhurst will require a seconder for that. Councillor Dalton as a seconder. Councillor Dewhurst, would you now like to speak to your motion?
Yes, thanks very much.
Your amendment.
So there's been a number of expansions from Alcoa over the years, and they've literally displaced thousands of birds in that Jarrah remnant bushland up there, and they're mining for the bauxite, which is what the Jarrah actually needs to grow, and putting Jarrahs in there when they've removed 90% of the bauxite up there. It's going to be quite interesting how those trees are actually going to survive in the longer term. In the shorter term, they can certainly they survive, but as they're now approaching past Carnet Prison Farm and heading through Serpentine Jarrahdale, this new bit of land that they want to take comes into the city of Armidale, and eventually the next stage will probably be the city of Gosnells. And the reason I say it is we have got bauxite up in our hills, we've got uranium in our hills, we've also got talonite in our hills. It's actually quite rich up there. And I think we need to take a stand, because if we are serious about protecting our fauna and fauna, and we've just made a position statement in regards to the black cockatoos, I think it's only poignant now to make a stand and have our voices heard with other local councils and other community groups opposing the Alcoa expansion. Just a very interesting thing is, as people know, I'm part of the Carricum Black Cockatoo Society, and we always like to work with people. We did reach out to them over 12 months ago, in fact 2 years ago, and said, look, you're going to absolutely decimate the Borden cockatoos in this particular area where they're cutting it down. How about we work together and come up with some solutions? And they weren't interested in whatsoever. They are just not interested to actually work with community groups, unless it looks pretty flashy. Not result-based, but flashy-based. So, councillors, I ask you to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dewhurst. Councillor Dalton, would you like to speak to it? No. Would any other councillors like to speak on the amendment? Councillor Abetz?
Deputy Mayor, we're being asked to take a stand on something on which I suspect most of us, with the exception of Councillor Dewhurst, have actually not done our research on. I can say that I think it was about 25 years ago, I was a parent accompanying a school excursion that looked actually at the rehabilitation work that Alcoa was doing up in the hills where they've mined the bauxite. And it was very interesting that because there's a major problem with Phytophthora dieback, which in the hills, which affects a lot of the native trees, including Jarrah. And when they mine the bauxite, they actually take away that layer of coffee rock, which allows better drainage of the soil. And where they've replanted the trees, after they've mined the bauxite, there's actually very little incidence of Phytophthora dieback because of that better drainage. So the reality is that that was 25 years ago. I haven't been up there to have a look how it's progressed since, but Alcoa certainly have won some awards for their rehabilitation work that they do. So I'm just a little reluctant to support something to say that we oppose something when we actually haven't got all the facts to make an informed decision. So I would rather see this matter deferred or perhaps come up at a later stage when we've had a chance to do our homework and find out what the current state of affairs is. And I would suggest that the 6,000 hectares of native vegetation is not all going to be cleared in one hit, but it would be a gradual process, like when I was up there 25 years ago with that school excursion where they were looking at the rehabilitation work. They mine a section and they take the soil from the topsoil off, they store that, they put that over where they've mined, and so you get the natural seed and the whole thing gets revegetated. And so it's not just a case of denuding things and leaving it bare, but there is actually a well-documented and a scientific sort of process of rehabilitating the land. So I appreciate the importance of habitat for the cockatoos, and I appreciate that when you plant new trees, it's going to take probably 30, 40 years before there's a lot of suitable habitat for the cockatoos. But again, that 6,000 hectares, over what time period is that going to be cleared? They're things that I would want to know about before I would be willing to support us as a council taking a position to oppose something like this. I think we need to be better informed, and so I'd rather, I won't be supporting the amendment. I may support it later once we've done our homework, but I'm not prepared to support the amendment as it stands at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Abetz. Councillor Dewhurst, do you have a question?
Could I ask you to actually, you've read it. I must have written it wrong in my stupor or something like that, but am I not asking for the city to adopt a position statement, to go away and adopt it, that will more than likely will be workshopped and discussed at a workshop? Is this not what this is asking?
No.
Yeah. I'll just be a moment, Councillor Dewhurst.
Yeah, to prepare a position statement opposing the girls.
Councillor Dewhurst, so I've just discussed it with the CEO. With the issue here and what I assume Councillor Abetz is referring to is that after position statement it says opposing Alcoa's proposal. Perhaps you would be willing to take out the word opposing and replace it with on. So position statement on Alcoa's proposal, so then that would allow that discussion and report back.
I will do anything for this to pass tonight because it's a very important topic.
So Councillor Dewhurst, you're okay with that change? Councillor Dalton, you're okay with that change as well? So councillors, that is now being changed to read that the CEO be requested to prepare a position statement on Alcoa's proposal to expand its bauxite mining in the Darling Range that would involve clearing over 6,000 hectares of native vegetation for consideration by council. Are you happy with that, Councillor Dewhurst? Okay. So Councillor Abetz, you've already spoken on the item. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak on the item? Councillor Islam?
Can I ask a question on this? For the public, what does it really mean? What does it mean for the city, for the resident as well? Can I just get a clarification from the CEO? Thank you.
The CEO will answer the question.
Madam Deputy Mayor, it's, look, as I understand it, Alcoa, and as I think Councillor Dewhurst said, aren't proposing at the moment to do any mining in city, in the districts of the city of Gosnells. But as I understand it, the exploration area does stretch right up to Mundaring. So it's potentially open to be mined or proposals for mining in the future. So nothing immediate, but there could be a potential in the future.
Thank you. Councillor Islam, do you have any further questions? No. Would anybody like to speak on the item? Councillor Dewhurst, would you like to close?
Yep, thanks very much for that, Madam Mayor. It is an important topic. I've got no doubt that they will be in our hills exploring soon, because the CEO is right. They've gone through City Gosnells up to Mundaring, but they've got no plans of coming here yet. But exploring they are, which means realistically we'll lose Ellisbrook, and we could lose, or the top of our hills become just a barren area. May I suggest anyone who's watching this, anyone, and councillors, go for a drive up around Logue and also Carnet Prison Farm. It is just devastation, absolute devastation. And I'm talking about in the hundreds and hundreds of acres that you can see, and you can't see what's over the other side of the hill. It's a travesty what's occurring. So, yep, I appreciate what Councillor Bett said, and I was happy with to move that. They would be a very brave council to come back and say that we actually support Alcoa, because I think we'd have a few eggs sort of thrown at our cars. So anyway, we'll have a look at that, how that comes back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Dewhurst. So we'll now go to vote on the amendment. So it's that Part 2 amendment. If you're in support of the amendment, please raise your hand. Thank you, councillors. That's unanimously carried. So we'll now go back to the original motion. We'll put the amendment with the original motion. Now, would any councillors like to speak on that item? No? Councillor Adams, you moved the item. Would you like to close on the item?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, we will now go to the vote. So we'll go to the vote, and this is the original motion plus the amendment together. So if you're in support of that, please raise your hand. Thank you, councillors. That's unanimously carried. Thank you.
Can I be excused, please?
Yes, Councillor Dewhurst, thank you. This now brings us to the next item on the agenda. We have item 13.1.4, the Major Projects Progress Report. May I seek a mover? Councillor McDonald and Councillor Zhang to second. Councillor McDonald, would you like to speak? Councillor Zhang, would you like to speak? Would anybody like to speak on this item? No. Councillor McDonald, would you like to close? No. Councillors, if you're in support of this staff recommendation, please raise your hand. Thank you, councillors. That's unanimously carried. We now move on to item 13.2.1, the draft modified local planning policy 2.1, commercial vehicle parking. May I seek a mover? Councillor Abetz, and a seconder, Councillor Good. Councillor Abetz, would you like to speak to this?
Just very briefly, Madam Deputy Mayor, the revised policy is a much simpler, shorter document, and it just conveys the what the objective is, and it's also good to see that the definition of a commercial vehicle has been changed from a vehicle capable of carrying 1.5 tonnes to 4.5 tonne gross vehicle mass, which allows for small 2-tonne trucks, which are really not much bigger than a big van, to be able to be not to come into the definition of a commercial vehicle, and I think that will be very helpful to many people. So I think it's a positive move, a simplified policy, and encourage people to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Abetz. Councillor Good, would you like to speak to the... No? Would any other councillors like to speak? No. Councillor Abetz, would you like to close? No. Okay, councillors, if you support the staff recommendation, can you please show your hand? Thank you, councillors. That's unanimously carried. We now move on to item 13.2.2, Local Planning Policy 1.3, Exempted Development, Final Adoption. May I seek a mover? Councillor Islam, and seconder, Councillor Lloyd. Councillor Islam, would you like to speak on this item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. While I support it, I just want to ask a question or a clarification on page 69, dot point number 3, deletion of the bed and breakfast use as the use is not within LPS 24. Can I ask a clarification? Is that because of we are getting a separate policy on bed and breakfast or Airbnb? Thank you.
Thank you. Director Lafort will provide an answer.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The use is now incorporated into a new land use class in Local Planning Scheme 24, so it'll be under a tourism use class, so it won't have a separate bed and breakfast. It's just no longer a use that's operated anymore.
Thank you. Would you like to speak on the item, Councillor Islam?
No, thank you very much.
Councillor Lloyd, would you like to speak? No. Would any other councillor like to speak on the item? Councillor Islam, would you like to close?
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, if you support staff recommendation 1 and 2, can you please raise your hand? Thank you, councillors. That's unanimously carried. We'll now move on to item 13.2.3, budget variation, Southern River Precinct 3, developer contribution plan, reimbursement for common costs. May I seek a mover? Councillor Dalton, and seconder Councillor Abetz. Councillor Dalton, would you like to speak on this item? No. Councillor Abetz? No. Would any other councillor like to speak? No. Councillor Dalton, would you like to close? No. Okay, councillors, if you support the staff recommendations, can you please raise your hand? Thank you, councillors. That's unanimously carried. This now brings us to item 13.3.1, review of Council Policy 4.1.6, Crestwood Estate Public Open Space Maintenance Contribution. May I seek a mover? Councillor Lloyd, and seconder Councillor Good. Councillor Lloyd, would you like to speak? Councillor Good, would you like to speak? Would any other councillors like to speak? No. Councillor Lloyd, would you like to close? Okay, councillors, if you support the staff recommendation, can you please raise your hand? Thank you. That's unanimously carried. We'll now move on to item 13.4.1, Grants Program 2024-25. May I seek a mover? Councillor Good and Councillor Zhang as seconder. Councillor Good, would you like to speak to this? No. Councillor Zhang? No. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Islam?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I ask a quick question on this? If we are adopting tonight this, how soon the resident can apply for these grants? Thank you.
Councillor Islam, this is a report that these are the grants already from last year, last financial year.
So new grants will come forward with next meeting.
I will ask the Director of Community Engagement to provide an update of when new grants can be provided.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The report on the revised grants policy will come to the next council meeting on the 26th, I think. And if that policy and guidelines are approved by council, then really it's pretty immediate the grants will be available.
Councillor Good, question?
You've actually just reminded me, Deputy Mayor Williamson, my iPad is actually a little bit faulty, so I'm going to rely on my memory. There's 12 high schools listed. One of them, from memory, is Sevenoaks in the city of Gosnells. I didn't think it was. I'm just curious about how did it get in there. I'm relying on my memory here. I looked at 12 and I think, hang on, I must remember that. So, just curious. There's 12, actually I didn't know how we had 12 high schools. I couldn't have to count them all up. But yeah, I think Sevenoaks. Just curious, that's in the city of Canning. I'm just curious why it's in our list, that's all.
Can I take that on notice and get back to you, Councillor Bush?
So I wish I could find it better, but I can't. I'm relying on my memory. My iPad's playing up. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions, or would any other councillors like to speak on this item? No? Okay. Okay, so if you're in support of the staff recommendation, we'll now go to the vote. If you're in support of the recommendation, please raise your hand. Thank you, councillors. That's unanimously carried. We'll now move on to item 13.5.1, policy review. May I seek a mover? Councillor Islam, and a seconder, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Islam, would you like to speak to this item? Councillor McDonald? No. Would any other councillor like to speak? No. Councillor Islam, would you like to close? No. Councillors, if you support the staff recommendation, can you please raise your hand? Thank you, councillors. That's unanimously carried. So item 14.1 was already brought forward for the public gallery, so that one has been dealt with. Item 15, urgent business, we have none. Confidential items, we have none. So that brings us to item 17, closure of the meeting at 7:53. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you councillors, and thank you staff, and thank you everyone in the public gallery. Thank you.